Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Facilities Committee meeting, March 29th. I call the meeting to order. I need an approval of the agenda, but first we need to make a couple changes on the agenda. Closed session, we need to delete the canopy bids. We don't have enough bidders. We have to go back. The East Elementary and Parkwood High School asbestos abatement came under our dollar authority, so that should be deleted as well. And we're going to move the East Elementary and Parkwood High School window replacement bids up to open session under building and zoning permit information, because it raises to the level that it has to be an open session. Everybody good with that? So I need a motion to approve the amended agenda.
So moved.
Okay, second.
All those in favor? Okay, we're going to go into closed session first and then go into open session from there. So I need a motion to go into closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-131 for the consideration of bids and to consult with our attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A3 and pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A5 for the sale of property.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, we're back in open session, and the first item is Monroe Middle School renovation bids.
Bids were received on March 6th from Monroe Middle School. Two bids were received and we rebid the project. It was rebid on March 19th. The lowest responsive bidder was Haas Contracting at $2,445,700. That's inclusive of all the alternates. The scope of work includes wall, floor, door, hardware, and HVAC duct replacement and portions of the original building, intercom and fire alarm replacements in the entire facility, and adding 39 asphalt paved parking spaces. You see a summary of the bid with the bid alternates. And then down below, we talk about the project budget, and it's probably a good time to point you to this document here. So it's one that we passed out this separate. There you go. Thanks. And so back in October, we discussed this project. What we wanted to do was to increase the scope of work because we were going to be doing some above ceiling work. In the future CIPs, there was additional above ceiling work from Monroe Middle School. And we wanted to bring all that together. So we were just disrupting the school and those systems and those finishes one time, hopefully, and to limit that, to also be more cost effective. That at the time we had looked at how we would fund that. We were looking at deferring some projects that were in this current CIP and moving those to future years to pull some of those future CIP items from Monroe into this year. And we were also looking at some actual savings from projects that we had incurred to date. At the time, again, this was October, there didn't have too many projects to draw from with the savings. In this particular spreadsheet, in this particular sheet, you'll see where we looked at and named Parkwood High School and Piedmont High School. The stadium lighting savings actually to date is $46,000 as opposed to the $72,500. I think that was from when we changed the foot candles of that bid from 40-foot candles to 50-foot candles. So that was the difference there. We do feel that we have savings that we can draw from. I don't know that we need to specifically note those items, but what we do believe is that we need to go to the county for their approval on shifting some of these funds around. So we would want to try to go to the county for their April 16th meeting. What we would be asking is that for this bid to be approved, and that would be contingent upon the county approving the funds.
So the
So
county
the funds.
approval would be for the three things at the top, the 839-100, and switching out with the other projects, and then we have our own money. Okay, so could we get that on the calendar for we can't get it on for the April 2nd one, but for the 16th, the county, okay. So we need a motion to approve the bid, or to recommend the approval of the bid to the full board contingent on approval from the county for the funding.
Okay, so this is what we're going to ask the county.
We have, everything else has been approved for Monroe Middle except for the 839-100.
And,
That's just the construction bid, right?
okay.
They're in the bid. Let's see.
Yeah.
The fiberboard ductwork also was in one of the bid alternates. So it's in the base bid and it's in the bid alternate. The fire alarm was in the base bid, and the intercom was in the base bid. And depending on where the savings is identified, it could be out of category. So when we talk to the county, we would want to have that included.
Right, they would have to move the money from these projects down here up into, okay, and you'll have more clarity to where we're moving by then. Okay, but I would make sure we get, if we approve this, make sure we get it to the county next week, so we'll make sure we have it in enough time to get on the 16th agenda.
So do we have to let the county know?
Yes, that's
to
what he was
use
just
these
saying,
also?
yes, and there'll be one more to make up the whole amount.
Yep, because this is wrong.
Right, and you'll have, because this is from October,
Uh-huh.
so for the full board on the 10th, you'll be able to give us the actual numbers from where, okay,
Yes.
perfect. So the
Yes.
full board can approve it. We can get it over to the county as a placeholder to get them the information, and then we can approve it at the board level, contingent on the county level, and then the county level's the next week.
We'll go ahead and email that to them today.
Okay. You won't be able to give them though all the numbers, but at least you'll have a placeholder.
Mhm.
And will the bid be open for that amount of time?
Yes.
30 days?
Yes,
Okay.
and I would also note that, we did come in under budget. So we may target a number that's lower.
That's different. Okay. And the two New Salem projects were moved up to fiscal 19 in our current draft of the CIP, and Walter Bickett Ed Center was moved back a little bit, but is in the CIP, 5-year CIP. Okay, so I need a motion to approve the contract to Haas Contracting for $2,445,700, inclusive of all the bid alternatives, to the full board, recommended to the full board contingent upon approval from the Board of County Commissioners with respect to the additional $839,100, or whatever it turns out to be, or some lower number.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
But it's gonna be the 839 plus the difference here.
The whole amount that we need is the 839, but we have to come up with whatever this number is, we have to come up with these two added together to get to the amount. So this is the amount that we need for those three projects to do it with
Mhm.
the rest of the stuff, but he has to come up with 839,100 because we just lost a little bit in there.
Exactly.
Right, yep, and he'll send that to us with the full board package. Okay, the next thing is the Monroe, I'm sorry, Sun Valley Pre-Construction Services Agreement.
The board approved Branch Associates as the construction manager at risk contractor for the Sun Valley High School bond project. As part of that contract, CM at Risk, we do have different phases of that work. Pre-construction services is the first phase. They've provided a fee of $60,000. That scope it includes advising on matters related to site use, improvements, selection of materials, building methods, construction details, building systems and equipment, phasing and sequencing of the work, constructability reviews, value analysis, cost analysis, bid document reviews. And later this summer, Branch will provide a price for the guaranteed maximum price, which is typically called the GMP. So that's when we have more information on the building design, that's when they are able to do that. Staff requests the Facilities Committee inform the Board of Education of the pre-construction services fee for Branch in the amount of $60,000, or if it's your desire to seek approval on that item.
This is is it within what you thought? I know that we don't have separate line items for this kind of, but is this within what you thought it was going to come back at for the pre-construction?
It is a good fee. We did talk with other school systems that do see them at risk and looked at the scopes. So we were really pleased with that. And at $60,000 as part of the policy and things like that, we could do the purchase order and things like that, but this is a different animal, and we had mentioned that we were going to be coming back to the committee, with this information.
Right.
So it's up to you all as to whether you want to send it to the board for approval or just information.
And as far as bond money goes, is that included in what we've already requested in soft cost?
Yes.
we have
Yes.
enough to cover that.
The whole thing.
It comes
Yes, we
out,
put
it
in.
comes out of, in
Okay.
this particular case, it comes out of the construction.
Okay.
Not
It's a-
that that matters to anyone else, the
But when-
county or.
When we looked at Sun Valley with the last look that we got approved by the county in December, whenever, January, whatever it was, he had included all that in the full package of what the project was going to cost us.
So in layman's terms, what this is doing is doing a site assessment, seeing what needs to be done on the site, and I guess gauging their risk, what could potentially happen for
Yeah.
construction.
So it's a nice benefit. It's because this is a complicated project. And so with their involvement up front, they're going to be doing many different things. First of all, we have a phase one of the project, which is the site improvements. That's the building the stadium, that's building the fields, that's building the concessions, building the field house, and those type of things. And that's very important. We want to get that off and running as soon as school is lets out on that. Later, we will come back with the building, and that'll be the total package at that time, the total cost. So it's going to be the cost of construction. It's going to be their cost in managing the construction. But the benefit that we get in this is that they're looking at the drawings right now. They're seeing where, hey, the price of aluminum is skyrocketing, or look, you can't get aluminum for 12 weeks, and so that may be influencing, some of the material selection decisions and things like that. Sequencing of the work is a big item. That was one of our major concerns on, this school has got to operate efficiently and to minimize the disruption to the students. And on a hard bid situation, some of that, you don't know how that contractor is in their mind planning to do that. Then it's certainly an opportunity for conflict, where they had in their mind how they were going to do it one way, and we come back and say, no, you can't do it, that way. In this case, we're all together on that. We're going to see what their proposed sequencing is, and then we will be looking to see what we think the impact is and whether that's the best solution for it. We know that all up front. Then the bid packages are all tailored for that, to support that sequencing of operations that was just decided on.
It doesn't need approval because it's under the 100,000 mark, but I would definitely just let the information for the full
Yeah.
board.
And this will be in the form of a contract. We will be, after this meeting, it will be going out for distribution for them to sign. We have gone back and forth on the language with that with our attorneys on the construction side. So around the time of the board meeting, that's when that contract will be coming in.
Okay.
And again, you're only obligated for this phase of the work.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, the CIP, the first look at the CIP.
In your packets, you have this document. And what we tried to do, first of all, the CIP is a 5-year plan. And what we tried to do was to target approximately $15 million worth of capital needs annually. That is a tough thing to do. The pressures are such that it does want to be higher than that. We often are pushing things out into future years. And that future year number is much greater than $15 million. But as you look at this document, over the next days and a couple of weeks, please consider this as a starting point. Please feel free to ask questions, as you come, up. It's a whole lot easier for us to run down the answers and do the research, back at the office on the computer and talking with folks as it is in this type of setting.
One of the questions that I had for Dave was that we pushed off a few projects last year when the county came back to us and asked us to take $3 million out of our budget. And those, we wanted to make sure that those projects, we had said that they would get to move to fiscal year 19 to the top of the list. And Dave has confirmed that they're all in there. except for Piedmont High School Auxiliary Gym, which is in 2020. Because they have a lot of stuff going on next year with the bond project, so he wanted to push out Piedmont High School 1 year on the auxiliary gym. So the other ones were Indian Trail, the ventilation system, which we already know is part of our request. Some stuff with the Marshville Elementary School Library Media Center, 275. The three older middle schools, Piedmont, Parkwood, Sun Valley, the 2x2 ceiling tiles, and what was the last one? That was it, right? Yep, that was it. That was all of it. So we wanted to make sure that that was there as well. And then we asked this year with respect to the true-up funds. So this year's ad valorem taxes that were over and above the collection rate that the county originally thought, they're projecting that to be around 3.145. And we would like to, we approved those at a prior meeting, but we would like to make sure that those are like on a separate piece of paper so that when we're talking the CIP, it's different than what we're talking with this year's ad valorem taxes and what projects we want to put to that. And we had talked about it being the stuff at Indian Trail with respect to the ventilation and chiller, right? And then at what, Western Union, some of the other things that needed to be done there while their campus was going to be torn apart this summer. So Parkwood Middle, what? No, it's 2019, right?
2019.
Thought we had checked that. Parkwood Middle.
I see the update 2x2 ceiling grid tiles in the main buildings, $350,000, 2020.
We need that in 2019. I thought we looked at that.
I know, I thought we did too. We looked at that yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, let me make sure it's not in 2 years.
No, it's not in 19. Piedmont's there, Sun Valley's there. Is that something that can be bid together or not really?
Which one?
If you do all three middle schools ceilings?
It could be, certain. We could do, as we often do, we try to bid and see if we get quantity discounts and things like that.
So that needs to move up to 19.
Yeah. And that, those three schools, those were where we might look at the amount of ceiling work that we do, just in case we look at a future CIP project for some of those pods.
There's like, for the true up funds, there's 2.54 million at Indian Trail, and about 446,000 at Western Union. One of the things you'll see on here that we haven't seen very much of, Matt, is the painting of the schools. Going back to look at all the schools and if they're 13 years or more since last painting them.
And did
Tennis
the,
courts was the other thing.
I'm sorry.
Tennis courts, right?
Right.
At the high schools. Do you want to talk about Parkwood?
So at Parkwood, we had a CIP item for resurfacing those courts. With a geotechnical review, the recommendation is that we rebuild those courts, that there are some structural flaws. Given the location of those courts, there's only 4 courts. Adding 2 more courts isn't an option without encroaching on some of the setbacks. Since those courts were built, the school system acquired land behind Parkwood High School connecting to Crow Road. There's sufficient land there to build the 6 tennis courts. I'm talking with the school, it would be their preference to have 6 tennis courts together at that location. We were considering some other options of, trying to make the four courts work. The problem with the four courts is it takes a long time for the tennis matches to complete. And that's time that students are sitting around waiting when they could be home doing homework and things like that. I know that that's an issue for the athletes. So what we're proposing in is to use CIP funds from this year, CIP funds from next year to relocate those tennis courts. And what we would expect to do with the existing tennis courts is to completely remove those, and that would be a lawn area.
So we have to increase the amount of money for Parkwood High School with respect to the tennis courts, because we have to build 6 new ones.
And did you want to consider having a special meeting to talk about CIP?
I think we should, as a committee, just to talk about it and walk through it when we have some more time. Maybe that week we get back from spring break would be good, because at some point we have to turn this over to the superintendent so he can add it to the superintendent's budget. Do you think that would be good? Get a meeting together just to go through this. The other thing that came up is when we did the Sun Valley bond and the athletic fields there, we asked staff to last year, we asked staff to look at Forest Hills, Parkwood, and Piedmont with respect to their athletic fields, given the ages being the same of the schools. So that's something we have to talk about as well. Piedmont High School got half of their stadium done 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 3 years ago. The visitor side wasn't done because there wasn't enough room to put the additional bleachers in there. So we would have to switch the baseball field and the softball field. Softball field's smaller than a baseball field. So we want to talk about that. It's in 2023 right now, but we would like that to move up. Piedmont. And then the same goes for Parkwood, and Parkwood Stadium, not the issue, but with respect to baseball and softball and athletic fields, we'd like them to take a look at moving some of those projects forward.
The other thing that might be brought up is security enhancements.
He can talk
So-
about that. That's in there.
And the one thing I didn't see in here, when we complete the transportation facility building, what is facilities going to do with the current building as far as upgrade, moving people in, renovating?
That's not funded.
That may be something that we could, once it's done, because it was supposed to be turned into a warehouse, right? And then some fixing up of the existing office space there. Is that what was supposed to be done?
And that's a discussion, for that we could have. There are some ideas, and we need to really look at the suitability of that facility as a warehouse. If you recall, that building was the 1980 generation. It was for a much smaller school system, and it had multiple functions, multiple tasks. I say that because when you try to kind of do a little bit of everything over time, maybe it might not be serving the need of anything. We need to look at how suitable it is for a warehouse. I know right now a good portion of that building is administration. It is not, that's not a great use of that building either. Is there a solution where, we building in the parking lot, that would be admin, and then try to, fit this building to be warehouse. There's options that, we need to explore.
2 or 3 years ago, when we had to move everything out of the old Fairview warehouse, we had to enter into a lease for another warehouse, and I can't remember. Mark, help me out if you're familiar with this, but is it like $90,000?
I've been out there.
The lease is astronomical per month. And, but we do have the option of getting out of the lease if we were able to provide our own warehouse or storage again. But that, we entered into that because of the loss at Fairview.
I guess we should make sure that that lease doesn't automatically renew. I don't know if it's a 5-year lease or whatever it was, but we got to keep an eye on the automatic renewal in a decision-making process. We could always ask for that money to be part of a true-up money that we get every year as well, but we can see about that as
But I
they,
remember when we agreed to enter into this lease agreement, our biggest shock and concern over what we were having to pay for this was so astronomical that in the event we were ever able to build a transportation facility, we would like to move out of there as soon as possible.
Create a warehouse.
It might have been like 87,000.
So we need, yeah.
Per month. I mean, it was an astronomical fee. So if we can get out of that and have our own warehouse again, it would be great.
Matt, if you look under various on the CIP, there's a building system, which is security upgrades on, third page. Is there various? It's alphabetical by school. 350,000.
2019. Oh, was it 8,000? Okay.
If fencing, HID readers, video phones at main entrances.
Maybe that was per year.
It's under various for
96
school.
a year. That must be
Building systems, see that? So that's we talked about at each school, the sign-in system and the swipe card readers and all that kind of stuff. Yep, exact, and doorbells with video cameras. Yes. Okay. Okay, so we'll set up a meeting the week of the 9th.
This is a full board work
No,
session,
the
or-
3 of us to
Okay.
talk about this before we
Okay.
present it to the full board.
Okay,
So I'll send around,
great.
or we can talk after the meeting about dates.
Okay. Thank
Okay?
you.
Yep. Next item is roof assessment follow-up.
Okay. At the last facilities committee meeting, a request was made to provide a color-coded roof section spreadsheet. I have that. You don't have it. I just made a copy of it. It's, in this particular one, it's 44 sheets of all the roof sections. Didn't distribute it because we haven't gone through it. And there's a couple issues, with this. We haven't received the software yet. That was an issue. We were supposed to receive the software. And so we don't have all the deliverables yet. We did receive this week. And it's good information, but again, we can't go back to the spreadsheet to look at, a particular roof section that they may have highlighted as being poor. And to see specifically what that is. So that is a little problematic. Well, it's problematic for us. The consultant is working on it. They know the importance of it. They're working with the software provider, on correcting some of the bugs that we had showed last time. But to summarize some of the information that's in here, which is good data. We have, of all the roof sections, 828 roof sections are considered excellent condition. 513 are considered very good condition. 645 are considered in good condition. 170 are considered in fair condition. 23 are considered in poor condition. That translates to 38% at excellent, 23% very good, 30% good. That's 91% of our roof sections are good or better. So that's a really good position to be in. 8% are considered fair, 1% are considered poor. The 1% we are proposing to do in the CIP. And we have $2 million in the CIP line item for that. So that is where we are with the roofing, the color code request, and unfortunately, like I said, we want more information from the consultant. We want the software. We think that that's going to be supposed to be in hand, and before the next meeting. What we're hearing is 2 weeks, but we'll keep you posted. You have an attachment, and it's a proposal from the Waxhaw Soccer Association for improvements to Kensington and Western Union fields. What their goal is to provide synthetic turf fields. They use the fields, they maintain the fields, and they certainly appear to have a very nice presence on the field. Their goal, their desire is given the amount of use that they have on the fields, I think they see it as beneficial, as a benefit to them to have those be synthetic turf fields due to the maintenance costs and things like that.
I have a question just for my own clarity. Who owns the fields? So in Kensington, you've got all of Nesbitt Park down to the south, and then at Western Union, you have all those fields if you're facing the school to the left. But who owns that property?
Okay. The Kensington, we have one of those fields. It's Union County, either Union County or Union County Public Schools. We'd have to look to see which one it is. And that's the field that they're talking about developing, is the one that's on our property, our school property. The Western Union property should be the same thing. I can't imagine that there's a project that would require that to be a Union County, in their name. It's most likely Union County Public School property.
Okay.
And I'm probably splitting hairs, between Union County and Union County Public Schools. That just has to do more with the bond financing and past projects.
One of the things we talked about with this, there are several provisions in there as far as a bond goes and right of first refusal. So we're just kind of moving forward with this slowly.
What does that mean? I mean, I know what part of the first
Right.
proposal is, but what did they mean by that in this particular concept?
They want to be first in line to get to use the fields after us in terms of scheduling.
Yeah, and one of our concerns, well, it depends on the grade, but it should be a minimum of 7 years. I think 7 to 12 years is probably a good range. But one of our concerns was if the Board of Education, if this improvement was made, then it's our property. It basically becomes ours. And then it's going to need to be replaced. Who's going to be replacing it? We didn't want the board to be obligated, to be spending that kind of money, on those fields. So that was where we came up with the bond idea. And there.
That would be like an insurance policy for replacement if something would have happened to Waxhaw.
Correct.
Or to replace it when it wears out in 7 to 10 years. So we just felt like we should look at this, but we needed to go slowly. We don't want to, be saddled with something that would be an expense to us down the road. There would be some benefit to us, obviously, particularly at the two schools, but we just want to move slowly with this and make sure we do the right thing.
As we noticed from the CIP, one of the items in the 5 years is Monroe High School's field turf will need to be replaced. And I want to say it's like $650,000. So I assume to do 3 of these fields, they're spending a good deal amount of money, which we appreciate. It's just the replacement cost, the regular maintenance cost, and I know it says here that they would provide it all, but you have to plan for contingencies. So
I would assume that we would do some sort of a contract or MOU with them on this if we were to move forward. Did they, just curious, what was the reason for, or the justification they gave as to why they wanted to pursue this?
Yes, in the letter. Again, it has to do with a lot of kids being on the field. And,
Okay.
yeah, and it's kind of actually how we justified the Monroe High School turf field, one field.
well, not overused, but the drainages and all that.
Yeah, are they going to improve drainage also?
So when this is most likely considered an impervious surface area, civil drawings would be required. We would have to look at, how's that going to be addressed? And so that would be, it's a big concern. It's a big cost, or can be a significant cost, has to be part of the project.
I guess that's the thing. When it's our property and somebody that's not Union County Public Schools does something to our property, ultimately we're responsible for it. And that could be the problem, but it's definitely worth looking into and continuing to have the discussions, I assume.
Have any of the other athletic associations around Union County approached facilities to, this is the first request we've seen like this? Because I know there's many athletic associations. I know Porter Ridge Athletic Association over at Henby Bridge Elementary. We've got Weddington, Indian Trail. Have they asked for anything similar to this, or is this a first?
I know that many of the probably boosters or schools, have asked, for this, whether and how serious they were, I don't know. It's a significant cost. So I would say that the interest is there. If you're concerned about, hey, if we do it here, then we're going to have other people, I would say, yes, that's probably a very valid concern.
Boosters is a little bit different because they're part of the Union County, not, they're, right, they're affiliated with us.
And that may be
Do
a
they
good thing, may
rent
not
these
be.
fields from us currently, or how does that work?
They reference that they currently have an agreement and that they're using the fields. And I would imagine with that agreement, they probably have a first right of refusal in that, but I don't want to.
I would like to, next time this comes back, to understand more about our current relationship.
I definitely would like to know if we have a written agreement for, are they renting it from us?
I'm sure we do. I mean, but I'll follow up on that. I mean, they are using the fields, and
They
I-
maintain them, right?
right, I would be
Right, yeah.
surprised if we didn't. A lot of times, they do the facility use forms, and there are some in-kind services that are traded out, but I'll follow up on these two.
Okay.
Quick question too about synthetic turf. I guess you said it was impervious. There's no subsurface drainage with it, or how does it just run off and go to a drainage on the side?
That all depends on the design. I would
Yeah.
expect, I have been involved in one where we did have internal drainage systems that did exit from underneath the field
Mhm.
and were daylighted at, and what kind of detention pond and all that kind of stuff really depends on other site conditions. So
Okay.
it's specific to the lay of the land and the issues at that school
Okay.
and other impervious surface calculations. It could be that, there is a threshold, for the entire site. If we exceed that threshold, more requirements are made.
Get to
So,
build a holding pond and everything. Because I think in
it just gets
Monroe,
bigger.
there was a holding pond on the side, if I'm not mistaken.
In the event we would agree to allow this on our property, would our facilities department oversee their engineering and design and
They would have to
Would we
submit
have
all of that,
a-
yes.
approval in those processes?
We are the owner of the land. If this association or some other association, goes away, dissolves, it's yours. So we would be wanting to see and approve all of the designs and make sure that process goes through. We would have to look whether we would want them just to fund it and we design, we are in charge of all that, or whether, we would want them to do it and then we just observe, look at it and approve. We have those options.
I think the short answer would be yes. I mean, I think that's why I asked the question about a legal binding agreement where we dictate what they're responsible for, what we are responsible for in the approval process, and that would involve our legal department and facilities.
What would happen if they dissolved for some reason?
Well, and that's why we would want the bonds. And if number one, we would want a bond on the construction, because we wouldn't want the project to just stop, halfway. And then, we would need it to, if it's going to get started, it needs to complete. And then the bond, a future bond for that replacement.
They would have to name us as a third-party beneficiary on the bond too, right? Okay. Thank you.
It's been a very, very busy month. Hectic. Let me recap some of the CIP status. The 16-17 CIP is complete. with the exception of Benton Heights Elementary School. And that project is well underway, and I'll talk about it in a minute. The 17-18 recap. Oh, and by the way, this information is currently on our website. The budget for 17-18 is $13,999,845. Obligations to date, $6,694,612. So 48% obligated. Breaking that down, we have 19 projects that are in design. That's 3.9 million. We have 38 projects that are in the bid award phase. That's $5.9 million. We have 28 projects that are in construction phase. That's $3.3 million. We have 11 projects that's complete. That's $852,000. That is a lot. That's a lot of work. And we have staff has been working very hard, especially, like I said, it's been a chaotic month. And that's due to a lot of bidding, the bidding environment. With the tariffs on steel and aluminum, that certainly has affected pricing. That's in fact affected the interest from bidders at this particular time because there's uncertainty. You'll see that in cases where we don't receive 3 bids. So that certainly is an issue, and it also causes us when we're having to rebid. We had many cases this particular month where we had to rebid, and they came in this week, and it's very tough. It's very tough, on getting this information together, getting the agendas, figuring out which agenda it's going to be in closed session or open session. All that's dollar dependent, and if it is above the dollar, then it needs to go on open session. So appreciate the adjustment on the agenda. So quickly, I won't go over all of this because it's several pages, but we do.
Dave, I was just going to ask this. I don't think we need to go line by line, but can you point out for the committee what are the major projects that you want to highlight, or any concerns with anything?
I can, yes. I'll skip over to the canopy replacement, various sites. That project is a very large project. We did not receive enough bidders to open that. We are rebidding that, and that's going to be April 10th. So we say, it says the bid award is going to go to the April Board of Education meeting. That's not the case. That'll go to the May Board of Education meeting. Let's see.
We talked about the tennis courts. We talked about Monroe Middle. With respect to Sun Valley Middle School and the various sites on the ADA renovations, are those
Yes.
going to be completed over the summer?
I don't see why not, David. That's correct.
Great, thank you.
And at Sun Valley, we do have an HVAC project that's underway. We expect that to complete this summer as well.
Okay.
Benton Heights Elementary School, contractor's 25% complete overall. We did have a bid this month, and that was for some upcoming asbestos abatement work. We have, in addition to the Weddington flooring project, we also have a Weddington kitchen floor repair. There's a water issue, under that floor.
happened.
And so that also is going to be happening this summer. Bond projects.
Let's talk about transportation for
Sure.
a minute. So we've talked about the sewer system, right? For months now. And the county is proposing a industrial park near our property for the transportation center. And we had hoped that they would put in the lift station to hook into county sewer. Their project is, we found out yesterday.
18-24 months out.
So I don't think we can wait for that. So I think we're going to have to go back to the city of Monroe and talk about hooking into the sewer there. Does anyone disagree with that? I mean, I just don't think we can wait. We've
I don't-
waited since 2009 already.
I feel like this project has been way too far delayed on this issue. And
Well, if they could have done it through the county, it would have been great.
And I may be wrong. I agree with you. I think we need to pursue the city, but I may be wrong. I believe that even with the pursuit of the city, the Board of County Commissioners will have to approve that. Is that correct?
No.
Well, we sent the county a letter requesting the sewer,
Sewer service.
but with this new information, we will, I guess, need to rescind that or just let them know we're going in a different direction. I know there have been some conversations with the county about the delay and that we needed to go in a different direction. I don't know if anything formal has been done or said.
No.
Okay.
But I don't think there's anything formal with the county in order to do the sewer with the city of Monroe, because it was in our budget to do that originally. This came up as an alternative, but it just is.
You know, they may likely still want to locate the lift station on the corner of our property. So, and we may could go back to that at some point in time.
Yeah,
Okay.
going with the city, we would be applying for to come into the city, and that would be city services. We do have to work out a water issue, and we will have to go through there. I think the city is the special use. Either way, one was a special use permit, one was a conditional use permit. We will have to design to the city's requirements for the zoning and things like that. So we have a couple months on the design side to tailor it to the city, and then we'll be able to go out to bid.
And we have the land. We need some land, right, to do it?
We to access the sewer, we'll be boring under Rocky River Road. We do need to access the manhole. There's a very small parcel of land.
Yep.
That land, the ownership of that land is, it's an entity that no longer exists. So we would have to, through condemnation,
Okay.
access that sewer manhole.
Okay, great. Thank you. The other, Sun Valley High School, we talked about the beginning phases of this project. There's a lot of concern at Sun Valley High School over fields for the summer, given that we're going to be, I know we're not going to deal with the existing stadium. That's going to stay until we build the new one. But I've gotten a lot of phone calls, I believe Ms. Merrill has as well, with respect to how many fields they're going to be able to use in addition to the stadium this summer, because there's a lot of people that use them.
That's right.
So,
So, yeah, with the new location of the stadium, it certainly impacts the fields. There is going to be hardship on that campus and in practice field use. We have discussed this with the school. We have made them aware. We have asked them, please be looking at what alternatives they can come up on their end. There are the possibilities of other fields, and that's more for the after school issues, the football practice, the soccer practice, those high school sports. What we are asking the construction team is that we want a specific practice field that's a new field as part of the project.
the other side of the service drive.
Correct. To be constructed first. We want that as fast as we possibly can. We need that to be constructed and time, for that to set, so that they can use that field. Now, we don't anticipate that they can use it this summer. It's going to be constructed this summer. And
So you're looking at September if it was,
as soon as we possibly can, in all likelihood, that field will have to be sodded in order to have
but
any
that would
chance.
still take a month to let it grow.
For best, to have good use out of it for the year. Yes, the longer we can stay off of it, of course, the better it'll be. Now, certainly the high school, with the high school sports, football, season is starting very soon, and we'll go through, the summer. And that's a lot of kids. They're saying, hey, that might be 100 kids.
There's football, there's soccer, there's band, there's marching band, there's everything that
Yeah.
uses.
That's right. Right.
Are
And
we, where the dump is, which we're still working on getting rid of where the dump is, right?
the solid waste recycling facility?
Thank you. Solid waste recycling facility. We're still in conversations about
We have had conversation with that. That appears to be,
moving along.
forward.
Beautiful.
Yes.
There's fields next to that. Are we going to leave that small practice field next to it while we because we can't do anything with the solid waste recycling facility until we relocate it.
A lot of, we have to have a conversation with Branch and Associates, the
Okay.
CM at risk partner on that. What we are very interested in is to see, what kind of staging, where's that going to be? And when does that need to come on board? Staging would be for a variety of things, storing materials. We need contractor parking. We need a construction entrance. We expect the construction entrance to be where the solid waste recycling facility is. But we may have to adjust that just depending on when they are, out of the way. If we're coming in before they're out of the way, we need to take care of that. We don't want construction to be coming in any of our, driveways. So that's an issue. We have to have that meeting. We had planned to have that meeting last week. I think the weather, unfortunately,
Right.
caused it to be canceled.
It's a hardship for Sun Valley because it's easy to say we should find alternatives for the summer. Finding those alternatives is another whole thing. So I know there's a lot of consternation on the
But keep
athletics.
in mind, this is going to be a difficult project. I mean, we
And I-
need to know that going in today, because this is not the first thing that we're going to run into. We will have some absolute
Oh, of
challenges as
course,
we get
this
down
is
the
just
road.
right. This is
Yeah.
just looking at it.
And we need for the school to understand that as well. And we've been in contact with them.
And I think the school understands it. I don't know if the school understands it. I'm talking from a booster club, those kind of sports perspective as well. I mean, it's a fight in Union County to get field space, as we all know. So anywhere. So I said Union County. Yeah. I mean, so I get it. Okay. Thank you for that update. Surplus.
Attached, we have a listing of the surplus inventory identified for auction on GovDeals. If there's any questions, we can try to research that answer. Most of it is child nutrition items.
Okay. Next item is building and zoning permit. That's just an FYI as well. Okay. And the last thing is the East Elementary and Parkwood High window replacement bids.
This project was bid on March 15th. No bids were received. The project was rebid on March 28th. Davidson Sash and Door provided a bid of $304,796, and that's for low E glass. The budget was $240,000, $140,000 respectively. This project is combined for $380,000 budget, and it's under the budget by $75,204. Staff requests the Facilities Committee to recommend to the Board of Education the approval of the window replacement contract with Davidson Sash and Door in the amount of $304,796.
I was gonna say that's wrong on the sheet.
Right.
Yeah,
So if you please strike through that.
it's 304,796.
Correct.
Okay, so I need a motion to recommend to the board the approval of the contract to Davidson Sash and Door in the amount of $304,796.
So moved.
All those in favor? Okay, does anyone have anything else? Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor? Aye.